Well, good morning. It's great to see everyone. Thank you for joining with us as we spend another morning in John's Gospel. We're in day 10 of our 21-day journey through the Gospel of John. So thank you so much for joining with us. We're going to spend time this morning reading John chapter 10. As always, we can't cover everything in this story in 10 minutes, but I encourage you to spend time later after the video, before the video, however you do this in your own study time, to read through the chapter, spend time journaling through it, spend time praying through it, asking God to show himself to you in the story. If you have any questions about what's going on in the story, the things that we don't cover in the video, just send me a text message, send me a message online. I'd be happy to interact with you, engage with you in conversation, to tell you a little bit more about what Jesus has done in this story, what he's done for you. But John chapter 10 is a fantastic chapter. We get two I am statements, two of the seven that we see throughout the Gospel of John. And in this chapter alone, we'll hear Jesus say that I am the door. And the second one he'll say is, I am the good shepherd. And there's a lot of different things that you can hear from in this story, specifically about you. One, the main thing, it kind of follows up where we talked about on Sunday night in our message, that you can have confidence. You can have confidence in Jesus. You can have confidence in his plans. You can have confidence in his voice. You can have confidence in his protection, in his care. You can have confidence in your salvation. You can have confidence in what he's done for you. You can have confidence in the life that he's given you. You can have confidence in the abundance that he's promised, maybe not in this life, but the abundance that he's promised in the life that is to come. You can have confidence in Jesus. We'll talk about that further as we get into this, but I want you to hear that clearly this morning. You can have confidence in Jesus. That's what he wants you to hear. But John chapter 10, he's interacting with these Pharisees as he always is. And to understand kind of the Jewish leaders of the time, in the Old Testament, we hear these Jewish leaders, these Levite priests, referred to as shepherds a lot. And, to refer to them as shepherds, that kind of makes us all the sheep. And, I know I've talked about this with you all before. Being called a sheep is not a great thing. A sheep is completely defenseless and completely dependent on a shepherd. A sheep is dependent on the shepherd to feed them, to protect them, to watch over them, to lead them, to guide them, everything. They need a shepherd. So God appointed these shepherds throughout the Old Testament to watch over the flock of Israel. I mean, Moses would be seen as a great shepherd as he led the people out of Egypt, out of danger, through the journey of the wilderness, through the rivers, into the promised land. He was a shepherd for Israel. David was seen as a great shepherd. He physically fought off animals, fought off predators to protect his sheep. He legitimately laid down his life for his sheep, figuratively and literally. He did that. And so we see all these representations of shepherds throughout the Old Testament. But Jesus comes here in this story and starts referring to himself as a shepherd. And what he's starting to do, he's starting to show that what these people have been doing, what these Pharisees have been doing, has not been for protection of their sheep. They've only been protecting themselves. And what he wants to establish clearly is that they have failed you, but I, Jesus, am the good shepherd. So he starts off with this first statement that, I am the door. And to understand what he's describing, the sheepfold, the sheep gate, would sometimes be attached to the home of a shepherd. Imagine the outside of your house. Well, sometimes in your all's homes you have a fenced-in backyard. So imagine you walk out the back of your house, you have a fenced-in area. That's where all your sheep would be. And the sheepfold, and most of these sheep would have upwards of 100 sheep in these sheepfolds. And imagine on the other end there is a gate. That's the opening where the sheep can come in and out. Well, at night, to protect the sheep, if there wasn't a physical door, the shepherd would lay across the entrance. The shepherd would lay across the entrance to stay awake at night to fight off wolves, to fight off thieves and robbers. He would lay his body across that opening to make himself the door. No sheep were coming in that he did not know. No sheep were going out that he did not know about. And no one was coming to take them away. And so Jesus says here, I am the door. No one comes to the Father except through me. I am the one that lays down my body in front of this gate, in front of this entry. No one comes into the sheepfold unless I don't know about them. I know every single one of their names. I know every single one of their heart. I am the door that protects these sheep. And he goes on a little bit further and starts saying that now, not only is he the door, he is also the good shepherd. But before he describes himself as the good shepherd, he talks about the opposite. he starts talking about these Pharisees. He says, you guys were supposed to be the shepherds. You were supposed to be the ones watching over the flock, but you've only watched over yourselves. You have valued yourself more important than these people. You've only fed yourselves. You never fed your sheep. And then he starts describing this idea of thieves and robbers. Thieves and robbers would come and take sheep all the time. They would jump those fences. They'd bust through those doors, and they would take the sheep and run away with them and sell them for good, sell them for money. And it says here that these Pharisees would not lay down their lives for them. And in John 10:10, he describes what the thieves have come to do. And a lot of times we associate that word there specifically for the enemy, Satan himself. But in all reality, and even in the context, he's referring to the thieves and robbers of the time. Is also, you can include the Pharisees too, that they have come to steal, kill, and destroy. That's what they've done. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's what he wants to do to you. He wants to steal your joy. He wants to kill you. He wants to destroy your life. And he's using that in the same context of the thieves and robbers of the time, but he's also just called these Pharisees thieves and robbers. And he says that you have not come at the benefit of your sheep. And he says, but me, I have come so that they may have life and life to the full, an abundant life. And that's something we're all searching for, and everyone in the time was searching for an abundant life. They want abundant life. They want abundance. They want all the goodness and all the pleasures of this world. And Jesus just said, I am the door. No one comes through me except through me. No one comes to the Father except through me. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come to give life and life to the full. That fullness of life, that abundant life can only be found in me. And something to say clearly here, we take that verse. You might have that verse on your wall somewhere. You might have that verse, tattooed on you somewhere. Who knows? But what I want to communicate clearly is that abundant life is not being promised in the way we sometimes think. The abundant life is in Jesus, that we have everything that we ever need, and we have it all in abundance. We have the goodness. The best wine that was saved for last is not only just in those jars, it is overflowing, it's filled to the brim. It's the same thing, that we have the fullness of God's blessings, we have the fullness of God's grace, and we have it in abundance. And that abundant life may not look the same as what we think an abundant life looks like in today's world, but we do promise that we have an abundance in our eternity. And he goes on to say that he is the good shepherd. Those shepherds that have failed you, he is the good shepherd. He watches over his sheep. He's protected them. He will lay down his life for his sheep, and he will take it back up again. And that's what he's promised to do. And we know that's what he did later in this gospel, that he laid down his life by choice for his sheep, just to take it up again. David, yes, he laid down his life for his sheep, but he did not take his life back up again. He did not have the power to raise himself from the dead like Jesus did. And all of this is starting to unfold, and then Jesus goes into the fact that there are other sheep there who are not yet in his sheepfold. He starts talking about those other sheep that he knows. And what he's actually doing is revealing God's plan of including the Gentiles into his will and into his purposes. And what I want you to hear, though, specifically, is that throughout this story, throughout most of John, if not all of John, every time he talks about people coming to him, he says, if anyone comes to me, if anyone comes through the Father, if anyone comes through the door, if anyone comes to the Good Shepherd, it's not exclusive. It's not just only the Jews, only the people over here, not only the Baptists, not only the Methodists, not only the Church of Christ. If anyone comes to me and believes in me, I will give them eternal life. I'll give them eternal security. I will give them that confidence in me. They'll know my voice. And that's the key thing he says here to the Pharisees. Like, are we not part of your sheep? He goes, no, you don't know my voice. See, sheep actually know the shepherd's voice. They recognize it, they hear it, and they follow it. Clearly, just like in John 9, that Jesus basically calls them blind. Here he calls them deaf. You don't know me because you don't know my voice. You don't hear my voice. You don't recognize it. You should know it and you should recognize it, but you don't. And so he starts off this discourse with these Pharisees, and they get so mad at him because he starts talking about how he and the Father are one. They pick up stones, and they were going to stone him. And what that meant, if you don't know, they would gather around people. Sometimes they would throw them into a pit, and everybody would pick up a stone and throw it at the person and beat them with these stones until they died. It says that Jesus was able to escape that came after the dialogue that he had with them. That dialogue's pretty awesome. What am I doing that deserves this? What? And they're like, it's not the works. I mean, yeah, you gave sight to the blind, but what you are saying is insane. What you're saying is blasphemous. And Jesus, dialoguing back and forth, and he's debating in a way that only Jesus could. And he's able to escape from this, mainly because his hour had not yet come. It says, even though because of all that, even all that's going on at the very end there, it says, many people came to him and believed. So despite all of that, despite that crazy scene of them surrounding Jesus, getting ready to stone him, he escapes, and even still, people came to him and believed. The people that came to him and believed had heard his voice, and they recognized his voice, and they wanted that goodness. They wanted that abundant life. A couple of questions to think about throughout your day today. First is, do you have confidence in Jesus? Do you have confidence in your salvation? Do you have confidence in the grace that he's given? Do you have confidence in his voice? Do you hear his voice? Do you have confidence this morning? If not, I encourage you to reach out to somebody. We'll walk you through what you believe, what you know, and what you need to hear from God's word. And the second one is, if you don't know who Jesus is, do you want abundant life? Do you want that goodness of Jesus? I promise you, you can only find it in him. So those two questions: do you recognize his voice? Do you have confidence in him? The second one is, do you believe in Jesus? Do you want that abundant life? Think about that throughout your day today. We'll see you all tomorrow morning in John chapter 11. It gets really good from here as we start going closer and closer to the cross. Love you guys. Have a great day.